Hello and welcome to the local campaign. I'm Roger Peterson from City News. On October 19th, Canada will elect the 42nd Parliament, and Rogers TV is the only station producing debates of all Toronto's 25 ridings. For the next hour, you'll hear from the candidates of Scarborough Centre. Now, 2015 marks the beginning of electoral riding redistribution, so boundaries in the majority of ridings have changed along with some riding names. So before I introduce the candidates, let's take a closer look at the newly redrawn riding of Scarborough Centre.
The riding of Scarborough Centre stretches from Highway 401 in the north to Eglinton Avenue East in the south. Victoria Park Avenue is the western edge. The eastern border is shared by parts of McCowan Road and Bellamy Road. In the riding's northeast corner is the Scarborough Civic Centre and Town Centre. The Scarborough Hospital General Division at Lawrence Avenue West and McCowan Road, and Centennial College's Ashton B campus are two other notable landmarks within Scarborough Centre. The incumbent MP is Conservative Party member Roxanne James.
And there's our look at the riding. Now we'll introduce you to the candidates and they'll have their opening statements. But first, a little introduction. Alex Wilson of the NDP. Alex. Salma Zahid of the Liberals. Salma. Lindsay Thompson from the Green Party. Lindsay, thank you. And Katerina Androutsos of the Libertarians. Thank you all for joining us today. We will start off with the opening statements. You'll have 60 seconds each. And we will start with the party that has the most seats at the end of the last sitting. And that would be the NDP and Alex Wilson. Alex.
Thank you for tuning in. My name is Alex Wilson and I'm proud to be here representing the NDP. I'm running in this election because I care deeply about Scarborough and about this country. As a local pastor raising my family here, I've seen firsthand how Stephen Harper's Conservative government has failed us. And Justin Trudeau's plan that he's selling is unrealistic. The NDP will ask corporations to pay just a little bit more and invest in improving things that are important to us, like healthcare and childcare, infrastructure, and a secure retirement. This campaign is all about change. We hear it over and over again at the doors. The people of Scarborough Centre are ready for change. Tom O'Care and the NDP are ready to bring that change. New Democrats have a plan.
Cut you off there. Thank you, though. Salma Zahid of the Liberals. Salma.
Thanks for tuning in. My name is Salma Zahid and I'm proud to call Scarborough home. My family immigrated here 16 years ago to build a better life, and we have faced the challenges of so many families of Scarborough, from paying the rent and buying the groceries, getting to school and work on public transit, and saving now for our kids to go to universities. The Liberal Party understands these challenges, and we have a plan for real change, which includes giving tax breaks to the middle-class families, non-taxable Canada Child Benefit, millions in investments for transit and affordable housing, a proper job plan for our youth, investing in our seniors and our veterans, and reforming our immigration system. Countries that are hopeful of their future invest in themselves. We are very confident and better is possible. Justin Trudeau and the Liberal Party want better for Canada, and I want better for Scarborough Centre. On October 19th, I look forward to be your Member of Parliament. Thank you.
Salma Zahid, thank you very much from the Liberals. Lindsay Thompson of the Greens. Lindsay.
My name is Lindsay Thompson, and I'm your Green Party candidate for Scarborough Centre. I'm so appreciative of this opportunity to stand up for this riding. The Green Party is not a one-issue party. We have a fully costed plan for Canada. People from across Canada are making bold new choices. This federal election, they're voting for candidates with positive solutions, concrete plans for education and youth employment, inspired new ideas for protecting the environment, childcare programs that make sense. They're voting for change and standing up to protect democracy. It's time to make a bold choice for the future. Vote the Green Party of Canada. Now let me ask you, when is the last time a politician inspired you? It's been a long history of corruption and scandal. We need accountability and transparency. It's time for something new. Fully costed, bold new ideas, the kind of ideas Canada needs to build a sustainable future, working together. Vote Lindsay Thompson for Green Party.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay Thompson of the Greens and Katerina Androutsos of the Libertarian Party. Katerina?
Hi, I'm Katerina Androutsos, the candidate for the Libertarian Party of Canada right here in Scarborough Centre. I've always enjoyed helping others, so that is why I volunteer for the Toronto Police Auxiliary since 2006. This experience has taught me the importance of community values and connecting with real-life issues. The Libertarian Party stands for smaller government, lower taxes, and more personal freedoms. I think the biggest issue in this election is how families are struggling to make ends meet, and that's because taxes are so high. A recent study found that families spend over 40% in taxes, more than food, shelter, and clothing combined. Our party is the only one that combines fiscal responsibility and social tolerance. We would introduce a 15% flat tax for everyone. We would repeal Bill C-51 because it infringes on our civil liberties. We want to legalize cannabis. We are against the wars, and we would bring all our troops back home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Katerina Androutsos of the Libertarian Party. And the Conservative candidate, Roxanne James, cancelled at the last minute and is not here today. We'll move on now to our first question. And Alex, you'll be the chance to answer first. You'll have 30 seconds each, and then you will be able to have a conversation about it, shall we say. Transit, gridlock, and lack of roadway maintenance are prominent concerns in Scarborough Centre. And this ties in with the general feeling among Torontonians that urban infrastructure is not keeping pace with growth. The need for extensive infrastructure renewal is clear, but where does the money come from for this essential work? What role should the federal government play in this crucial issue? Alex?
Thank you. We believe that gridlock is a major issue in our city, and New Democrats plan to invest in that by $1.5 billion because we think it's important to make sure that everyone can get moving to work. We'll invest that in subways, in buses, and some of the funding and where we'll get that money from is we think that corporations should pay their fair share. And so we'll be increasing the corporate tax 1% each year by increasing it from 15% to 17% to cover some of that cost of the transit.
Alex, thank you. Salma Zahid.
The Liberal Party understands the importance of investing in infrastructure, and we will be investing $20 billion in the next 10 years in the infrastructure. The gridlock crippling Toronto and cities across Canada is both an economic issue as well as a quality of life issue. If we are going to build more subways, a rapid transit in Scarborough, it's time that the federal government has a real partner. A Liberal government will provide long-term and sustainable funding for transit and infrastructure, and we will make sure that it is available as soon as after the election. And we need to invest right now.
Thank you, Salma. Lindsay.
Infrastructure is so important for job creation and for the community to get around, and we plan on investing 1% of the federal sales tax into infrastructure, $6.3 billion, and more down the line to not only create jobs, but to repair our failing infrastructure. We have one of the worst transit systems in the world. It's so important to the people of Scarborough Centre to be able to get around, and we will invest in infrastructure. We will also increase corporate taxes up to 19%.
Okay, Lindsay, thank you. Katerina.
Well, right now the city of Toronto and Ontario are begging for money from the federal government every time they have a new infrastructure project. It makes no sense to send money to Ottawa only to give it back to Queen's Park. So the Libertarian Party's solution to the infrastructure challenge would be to eliminate the federal gas tax and allow each province to directly fund their own infrastructure projects. This would remove federal bureaucrats as the middleman, and the province will no longer need the federal government's permission.
Okay. Katerina, would anybody like to respond to any of the answers?
I think we need to invest right now. The time to invest, our families in Scarborough Centre are spending a lot of time getting to work and getting back, and they don't get time to spend with their families to do the homework with the kids or look after their aging parents. We need to invest now, and we need to build a better transit so that people can get to work and back in a good time.
I'd just like to add to that the NDP will sit down on a regular basis through their new Portfolio Minister of Urban Affairs and consult with each of the cities, including Toronto here, to talk about sustainable funding to make sure that they know that this is reliable, this is something they can count on in the future, and that we will be a stable partner. Thank you.
Absolutely, we agree. We need a council of Canadian governments, which would include federal, provincial, territorial municipalities, First Nations, Inuit, Métis. We need to meet with the municipalities and work with them. Unlike the Conservative government, we need a plan for the municipalities and build from the bottom up.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm just saying, like, keep the money in the provinces, and you'll see how quickly the job will get done, I think.
Okay, Katerina. We'll move on then to our next question. What do you see as the priorities for Scarborough Centre in terms of safety and security? And as MP, would you advocate changes in our approach to criminal justice? Salma, you're first.
Yes. I think we need to take a more balanced approach. The Conservative candidate is not here, but they have been for them crime means just longer jail sentences. But we need to take a balanced approach. We need to look into the causes which are, and for that we need to see why we have poverty, unemployment, affordable housing, and that is what exactly the Liberal Party will be doing. We will be investing $125 billion in the infrastructure so
Salma,
that we can look after the root causes.
Lindsay.
Absolutely, we need to get at the root causes. The Conservative government is wasting your money with minimum sentencing. It's not working. We need to invest in housing. We need to have a guaranteed income supplement so that people aren't living in poverty. Once you have jobs, once you have a home that you can go to, you have security, then the crime rates drop. So that would be our plan at the Green Party.
Okay, Katerina, thank you. Or sorry, Lindsay. Katerina.
Yes. Well, the federal government spends hundreds of millions of dollars on the war on drugs. Last year, 60,000 people were arrested on marijuana possession. This keeps our local police tied up in paperwork. So when they should be out there catching real criminals. So by liberating the police resources to be more present in the streets, we can expect lower crime rates and less shootings in Scarborough.
Okay. And Alex.
The NDP's plan is to make sure that people have good jobs, because one of the problems in the City of Toronto, especially with their young people, is they don't have the opportunity to work. And so the NDP will invest $125 million in creating some 40,000 opportunities for young people in which they can work, so they don't have to be forced with making difficult choices on the street. The other thing that I would like to add in this conversation is the NDP is one of the parties who's going to repeal Bill C-51, the Anti-Terror Act. We don't think that it is a necessary legislation.
Alex, thank you. We'll cut you off there. Would anybody like to?
The Liberal Party will be investing in creating more youth jobs. We will be investing $1.3 billion over the next 3 years to create 120,000 jobs over the next 3 years. These are the ways through which we can stop the social root causes of crime.
Absolutely. The Green Party has a plan to invest $1.25 billion to create 160,000 youth jobs as well. Tuition fees have gone up 14%, and it's harder and harder to pay back that debt, and it's harder to get a job out of university. There are 14% of unemployment also is at the young individuals that have just come out of education. So investing in their future, investing in our future, investing in those jobs. We also plan to appeal Bill C-51. We didn't vote against it and are going to repeal later. We're the first party to stand against Bill C-51, which does nothing to stop terrorism in this country.
Okay.
I agree. We need to repeal Bill C-51.
And why is that?
It infringes on our civil liberties. It's unconstitutional.
Liberal Party is the
spying
only
on us.
party which has taken a balanced
messages.
approach on Bill C-51.
You've taken a wishy-washy approach on Bill C-51. You voted
Canadians
for
safe.
it, and then you say that you're going to repeal later if you happen to get
Sorry, one person. Lindsay, we'll let you go first, and then Salma, you can respond.
I was just saying you've taken a wish-washy approach on Bill C-51. You voted for it, and yet you say if we happen to get in government, we will repeal Bill C-51. So what is your stance on it? It's only the Green Party that spoke against it first, and then the NDP later followed, but you voted for it.
Liberal Party is the only party which has taken a balanced approach. Unlike the NDP, the Liberal Party believes that we need to give the RCMP and the security agencies the tools they need to keep the Canadians safe. And unlike Conservatives, we want to keep the right to privacy, and we want to have a balance between public safety and right to privacy. We proposed amendments in the committee which were voted down. If we come into power, we will have parliamentary oversight, mandatory legislative reviews, and a sunset clause.
Okay.
There have been hundreds of academics that have said Bill C-51 will not protect us against terrorism, and it is infringing on our civil liberties. It's about sweeping powers, not enhanced oversight.
All right, we'll bring it back. You mentioned it with the crime, in regards to crime, jobs for the youth make a huge difference, obviously. Let's talk about that for a second. The loss of manufacturing jobs has hit Scarborough quite hard. Unemployment, underemployment are serious concerns, especially among the young people. What can the governments do to stimulate growth, particularly in the inner suburbs of the city? And I believe, Lindsay, you're first.
Great. The Green Party has a plan to increase large corporate taxes from the rate at 15% currently up to 19%. So this will put a lot more money in the pockets of Canadians. We can rethink other tax incentives for people. We want to create a national pharmacare plan, putting more money back into the hands of Canadians. We want to work with the internet as well and put more money into the hands of Canadians. 24% of the federal debt was accrued under Harper's government, and that's $150 billion more that we have to pay for.
Okay. Thank you very much. Katerina.
Can you repeat the question?
Loss of manufacturing jobs has hit Scarborough. Unemployment, underemployment are serious concerns. What can the government do to stimulate growth, particularly in inner suburbs like Scarborough?
Yes. Okay, if I were to work in Parliament, I would reduce the regulations and red tape on businesses. I think the best thing a government can do to create a good investment conditions for the private sector to create jobs. To encourage entrepreneurship and new startups, our party would reduce corporate taxes.
Okay, Katerina, thank you. Alex.
We've seen all the loss of jobs, the 400,000 manufacturing jobs in Ontario, and we think it's time to invest in manufacturing. Unlike the Liberals, who seem to want to quite give up on that and abandon that, we think it's important to invest in that, to invest in machinery. As well, in Scarborough, the reality is there's a lot of small businesses, and I've talked with a lot of them, and they want their taxes lowered. So we're going to reduce them from 11% to 9%, because that creates a lot of job growth. It drives about 80% of the Canadian economy. So that's one of the ways in which we'll create jobs.
Okay, Alex, thank you. Salma.
Studies show that if the corporate taxes are increased, we will lose over 150,000 more jobs. The role of the federal government is to create an environment where businesses are ready and willing to invest. And that's exactly what our $125 billion investment in infrastructure will do. We will build a better transit, we will build better affordable housing, and we will invest in green energy projects.
Okay, would anybody like to?
Yeah, so
Lindsay.
Increasing the corporate taxes, everybody likes to tell you that that's going to lead to job loss. The truth is that money is just sitting in the banks. It's dead money. It's estimated over $630 billion are sitting in corporate bank accounts, which is dead money. We also want to reduce small business taxes from 11% down to 9%. Small businesses are the heart of this economy. That's what we need to focus on, not lining the pockets of big corporations. I think we're through with the blue and red ideas of supporting large corporations to the detriment of everyone in Canada.
I'd like to respond to that. I think it's been a very much a revolving door between the Conservatives and Liberals, and it is time for something that is a different approach. The fear-mongering about increasing corporate taxes and saying they're going to go elsewhere is not true. Our tax rate, even after we increase it to 17%, is still much lower than the United States of America. So there's no place for them to go. They're not going to end up in job losses. These corporations who have been favored for a long time should be contributing to society, contributing to our social programs as well.
Okay, anybody?
Yeah, no, we need to create jobs, allowing people to create and innovate. When you have competition, you have lower prices, which will equal to better service, I think.
Okay, Salma? Lindsay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'd like to say Alex made a good point there. Raising taxes on profits of large corporations, we're just talking about to do that to the mid-range of the OECD countries. I mean, the US, the corporate tax rate is almost double what it is in Canada. So that's got to stop. We need to increase it. We're suggesting it go up to 19%. It was 28% in 2000. So this isn't a large jump by any means, and nobody's going to be jumping ship. We're not creating more manufacturing jobs. In fact, the Conservative government has shifted our balance to export more raw materials and have less manufacturing jobs, less high-paying jobs in Canada.
We are the only G7 country in recession. We need to get out of this recession. For that, you need to invest in our economy. We need to create more jobs. And our plan for creating 120,000 jobs for the youth will create more jobs and invest in the economy.
Okay, we'll move on then to our next question. Toronto is home to many immigrants and new Canadian citizens. Earlier this year, the government enacted a new Citizenship Act that raised residency requirements and enabled citizenship to be revoked for those convicted of terrorism, treason, or espionage. There have been criticisms that this establishes a two-tiered citizenship, but proponents say the Canadian citizenship is a privilege that should be valued and not abused. Where do you stand on this? And Katerina, I believe you are first.
I don't have an answer for you right now.
Okay.
Can you come back to me?
We have to go in the order we go in,
All right.
but that's okay. Alex.
So one of the bills that we stand firmly against is Bill C-24, the Dual Citizenship Act. We've always been a welcoming country here in Canada, and there's no way that we feel that we should be sending anyone back home because of offense they have committed. So the position of the NDP is to repeal that bill, to get rid of it, as well as to make it easier for newcomers to sponsor their families, to speed up that process so that they can be reunited and also contribute to our Canadian society and our culture.
Okay, Alex, thank you. Salma.
The Liberal Party voted against Bill C-24, and we are very clear that we will repeal this bill as soon as we come into power. Our leader, Justin Trudeau, visited Scarborough in the first week of the campaign, and he made it very clear that a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, and there are no second-class citizenships.
Okay, Salma, thank you. Lindsay.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on this issue. The Green Party also voted against Bill C-24. We plan to repeal. I agree, a Canadian is a Canadian. You can't revoke Canadian citizenship. You can't send people back to countries after welcoming them to Canada. But that's what the Harper government is all about. They want to take away your rights as Canadian citizens. If you don't live here anymore, you cannot vote in Canada. So we definitely plan to repeal. We want to take down the red tape as well and reunite families.
Okay. Anybody?
Yeah, the Liberal Party believes in family reunification, and we will be reforming the immigration system. We will be increasing the parents' and grandparents' visas from 5,000 to 10,000, and we will be increasing the dependent age from 19 to 22.
Let's bring it back to the citizenship regarding terrorism, having it revoked. So we can come to the immigration question, and we'll get to that probably the next question. But for now, let's just stay on that.
I
Katerina.
agree. If you're born in Canada, you're a Canadian citizen, and it's in the Constitution. This is why I'm a big defender in the Canadian Charter Rights and Freedoms. So, you're a Canadian. You have every right You have rights. You have rights as a Canadian citizen.
We have to realize this, that we are stronger not in spite of our differences, but because of our differences. I immigrated here 16 years ago, and today I'm running to be the Member of Parliament. That's the equality of opportunity we need to create for all Canadians. A Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian.
Okay. And we can go on now to the immigrants question. We take in about 250,000 immigrants every year, the highest intake per capita in the world. The current government has focused on skilled migrants chosen for what they can contribute to the economy. Would your party change our current approach to immigration? Your thoughts on that? And I believe, Alex, we're back to you.
Yeah, the first thing, in terms of the requirements, one of the things that I think is important is the strength of the family bond. So to be able to have families to come who want to sponsor, there's been all kinds of problems with the sponsorships. We don't think there should be a cap on it, that there should be a freedom to take as many sponsor family as the family can support, as well as looking at significant issues, like if they're in a war-torn area like Syria, then we think that we should have those 10,000 refugees in according to the UN.
Alex, thank you. Salma.
Stronger families and stronger communities are the backbone of our economy. After 10 years under a government that doesn't understand the concerns of Canadian families, Liberals have a real plan to fix our broken immigration system and give everyone a real and a fair chance to succeed. Canada has been known to welcome people fleeing from war, disaster, and we will be welcoming 25,000 Syrian refugees to Canada.
Okay, Lindsay.
Yeah, it's funny that the Harper government has been focusing on immigrating skilled workers, because the bottom line is when you come to Canada, it's very difficult to use your education that you received from other countries to put it to good use in Canada. So we want to focus in on creating some programs where you can transfer your skills, your degrees from other countries, and have them put to use in Canada. There are doctors here that can't practice, and we're in need of them.
Okay, Lindsay, thank you. Katerina.
Yes, my parents immigrated from Greece in search for a better life. So this topic is very important for me as well. So the Libertarian Party would decrease the burden for refugees and asylum seekers. We would create sponsorship guidelines where organizations can, individuals can sponsor immigrants easily as long as they are willing to financially support them. We favor a thorough background check to protect Canadians of any violent or fraudulent criminal activity among new immigrants.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would anybody like to?
I'd just like to add, one of the problems sometimes with newcomers is accepting of credentials. So the NDP will work hard and set up a council that will help to recognize more of those credentials so that it's easier for people to practice and work in the skills in the areas that they're good at.
All right. Anybody else?
Liberal Party believes in family values, and that's why we have laid importance of family reunification. I hear again and again in Scarborough Centre, just 2 days ago, like I had a person, Mr. Ahmed, walking into the office and complaining that he has sponsored his wife since last 3 years, and still he can't get her here in Canada. That's an economic issue as well as a quality of life issue. How can the people work if they don't have their loved ones with them?
All right. I think at this point we'll move on. It was mentioned, I can't remember who mentioned it, but about the Syrian refugee crisis. Governments around the world have responded in many different ways. What should Canada be doing? Should we be taking more of the migrants / refugees, fewer, or your thoughts on how we should be handling the situation? And I believe, Salma, you're first.
Canadians are rightly proud of our history of welcoming refugees fleeing oppression, war, strife, and disasters to Canada. From Hungarian refugees in the 1950s to Vietnamese in the 1970s and onwards, Canadians have always shown that we are willing to step up and help our global neighbors in need. Liberals have committed that they will bring 25,000 Syrian refugees. We will have people work. There is a need that the immigration officials should work in the camps in Turkey and Jordan and make it easier for the processing, keeping in view the security issues in place.
Lindsay.
Yeah. Canada has a history of helping people, and that's what Canadians in their hearts want to do. Fear-mongering is despicable, and it needs to stop. But one of the problems is we keep bombing these countries without being sanctioned by the UN. So that also needs to stop. The other issue is that there's a climate crisis. It's expected to increase the number of refugees to 700 million by mid-century, and it's roughly at 315,000 right now.
Okay, Lindsay, thank you. Katerina.
I think I answered this question earlier, but like I said before, we need to significantly decrease the bureaucratic burden for the refugees and asylum seekers. We need to create a sponsorship for organizations, individuals who want to sponsor. If they're willing to financially support them, we would do a thorough background check for any criminal activity, anything like fraudulent, so we can keep our Canadians safe.
Okay, thank you, Katerina. Alex.
Yes, as I said earlier, I think it's important that we do welcome in more refugees, that we look at places where there is conflict and have compassion to those people. We imagine if we were in those situations, we would want a country to receive us. So the NDP will, over a 4-year period, take in 40,000 Syrian refugees, as well as making sure that the obstacles that have been there in the past in terms of preventing refugees from coming in will be removed, and that we'll make sure that all those resources are well staffed staff so that things can be processed quickly.
Okay, Alex. Anybody like to?
I think in this issue, the conservative approach is not working. And our conservative representative, she is not here. But in May 2012, she said that, talking about refugees, that if people really are being prosecuted at home, they would go to the nearest countries. They are just coming to Canada because it's easy money. This is not the approach we need to have. We need to change our approach. We need to